If I resign without giving my employer the required 3 months notice, can they withhold my benefits? No, they cannot. So let me clarify a few things. So you said the required 3 months notice. So the statutory notice period is 1 month, unless the contract provides for a longer one. So if you said required 3 months, I'm assuming that's in your contract. But you may want to review, because not all 3 months notices or even longer notices are upheld these days under the law. So it depends on your position, depends on how long you've been with the company. So in other words, the law favors a shorter notice, especially when the employee resigns. So the minimum and kind of for all intents and purposes, even the maximum is a 1 month. So unless obviously you have a specific notice in your contract, and that notice would be upheld because of your designation and the longevity in the company. But let's say but if you don't serve your notice, it's you have to compensate the company for the notice, whatever it may be, 1 month or 3 months. So now, technically speaking, the way it's supposed to happen is that you pay the company that notice, and then they have to pay you the benefits. So sometimes, so that's one way of doing it. That's perhaps an easiest way to do it, and for some. But the other way is to just offset. So whatever your entitlements would be, the company would offset your unserved notice from your benefits. Right, that's the other option. And then the third option is that sometimes there is reasons to resign without notice. So there is a concept in the law that allows both companies or employers and employees to resign without giving each other notice. And that's usually when there's, for example, a breach of contract, a breach of the law. So, and we, by the way, have a lot of these questions, and it always makes me kind of feel sad, because employees who don't get paid salaries often and then worry about not giving notice to the company because the company would somehow penalize them. But so if the company is not paying you your salary, or they're not complying with one of the obligations to you, I know, for example, they're not letting you take your holidays, or they're not renewing your visa, and so making you work illegally, for example. So in any of those cases, you can by law resign without notice. So think about it. I'm not sure what your circumstances are, but if your reason is you're resigning, you don't want to serve notice, is because some of this, or if like you're harassed, or you are discriminated, for example. So if there's any violation of the law, and that's the reason why you're resigning, in that case, you can resign without notice, and obviously at that point, employers cannot withhold any of the benefits. And by the way, just in general, the law actually specifically states that companies are not allowed. So there's no more kind of penalty for employees resigning, as was the case in the old law. So you can resign, and there's no penalty that the company can impose under the law. In fact, the opposite is true. They're not allowed to apply any penalties. So the only remedy, if you will, is this notice period, but nothing else. So you don't walk away from your end of service. You don't walk away from your leave pay. You don't walk away from any other entitlements, like, for example, your unpaid salaries, commissions, bonuses. So you don't lose any of that. So the only thing there is for you to kind of figure out how to offset, if relevant, the compensation for the notice period.